Stephen A. Smith Show starts right now.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you live from Texas, live inside Arlington, Texas, home of the Dallas Cowboys. The number to call up, as always, is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. By the way, tune in this Sunday for a football doubleheader as the Jacksonville Jaguars host the Kansas City Chiefs and the Seattle Seahawks host the Cincinnati Bengals, presented by Vivid Seats. Pre-game begins at noon Eastern on most ESPN radio stations. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. It is an honor and a privilege to be here. I hate these people and love them all at the same time. They know it. It's a love-hate relationship inside of Texas. AT&T Stadium, better known as Jerry World, is right across the damn street. The Dallas Cowboys are right across the damn street. Not literally at this particular moment, but this is where they play. This is their home. Everybody shows up on the weekends to watch them, and I predict that for the most part, they'll be watching them win this year until it's really time, and then they'll lose. The Dallas Cowboys are not going to win the Super Bowl. Let's be very, very clear about my position about that. You hear them behind me. I'm not as scared of them. I'm not as scared, okay? A lot of people will sit up there, particularly with their backs turned, and they'll be like, well, damn, I ain't going to say the wrong. Hell with that. That's how I feel. Now, having said all of that, I got a real secret to let my audience out there nationwide know, because we are in over 250-plus markets across the United States of America. I got news for you. Everybody be teasing me. Oh, Stephen A., you know what you hate on the Cowboys. You know what? You really a Dallas Cowboy fan. I got news for you. Dallas Cowboy fans are fans of me. That's the truth. You understand what I'm saying? They know what time it is. They know the love. They understand. Just because I get on them don't mean I don't love them. It just means I love to hate on them, too. They understand this. I hope the rest of y'all do. I'll get into the Dallas Cowboys and the season I anticipate they will have starting this Sunday against the New York Giants. Eli Manning, Saquon Barkley, no Odell Beckham Jr., but nevertheless, what I expect from the Giants against the Cowboys, who now have Mr. $90 million man in Ezekiel Elliott back. I'll get into all of that a little bit later on in the show. I'll get into a slew of the NFL games, NFL teams who I think is going to win and lose this year, what the biggest storylines I believe are going to be. Obviously, I'm going to do all of that. But the first order of business, and of course, I'll get into the Packers beating the Chicago Bears last night. Okay? Mitchell Trubisky, Chicago Bears, you moved up to get Mitchell Trubisky. You passed on Patrick Mahomes. You passed on Deshaun Watson. I wonder how you're feeling about that decision right now. Needless to say, we'll get into all of that as the show progresses today. And of course, Marcus Spears, former Dallas Cowboy, will be on the show with us at the start of hour number 2 as well. But ladies and gentlemen, I got to take a shift. I got to shift gears, and I got to get into this news about Antonio Brown. Star receiver, now for the Oakland Raiders, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers, who got himself in the hot water because after the Oakland Raiders, led by GM Mike Mayock, fined him in excess of $53,000 a couple of days ago because of missed practices and missed team activities. Antonio Brown, practicing yesterday in California, decides to walk off the practice field onto the sidelines where Mike Mayock is standing, and he decides to confront Mike Mayock, the general manager for the Oakland Raiders. Now, I need everybody to listen up because this stuff is important. Where I'm going to go, I'm going to highlight everything for everybody so everybody understands. This man went after Mike Mayock, spewed a bunch of profanity-laced words in his direction and called them a cracker. That's what he did. Now, newsflash, I am not a white man. Okay? So I am in no position to tell you what the word cracker means to someone white. I can tell you what the N-word means to somebody black coming from somebody who ain't black. I can tell you that. I'm an expert on that. But I cannot tell you what the C word means to somebody white coming from a black man. What everyone can deduce based on Antonio Brown's ire, based on his disgust, based on the confrontation that he ultimately had, is that he clearly wasn't happy and didn't mean the C word in a flattery kind of manner. We can say that, all right? That profanity-laced tirade wasn't kind, flattering words. And as a result, the Oakland Raiders are contemplating whether or not to suspend him. Now, in the last hour, it was reported, ladies and gentlemen, that Antonio Brown officially apologized in front of the team and to the team with the captains of the Oakland Raiders standing by his side. That is the story. Here's my take. I don't give a damn about that apology. Not a damn. Let me tell you something right now. Number one on my list, and I say this out of affection for who I'm about to bring up because I'm cool with him. He is now an analyst, I believe, on Fox. I think he's done a great job. But at the time that Michael Vick got himself in trouble in the whole dogfighting scandal, I called it the stupidest move I had ever seen from a professional athlete because his actions cost him over $100 million, and you threw all of that away for a few $1,000s sponsoring dogfighting, schemes. This ranks number two. Now let me explain to y'all why. Antonio Brown, by finding himself in this situation, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't know this, officially has put in jeopardy in excess of $29 million of the $30 million he signed on with the Oakland Raiders for. Now let me read you the story. I want everybody to listen to this because you see, what happens is this. To white kids, black kids, Latinos, it don't matter. When you are an adult, at some point in time, we got to educate youngsters about putting themselves in jeopardy and getting in the way of their own cash. I'm tired of us blowing money over foolishness or 15 seconds of emotional outburst, costing yourself millions upon millions of dollars. And you got a whole bunch of brothers, Latino, white, black, whomever, whole bunch of brothers out there because we all family. That's right. And you got people out there sitting up there going like this. No, he probably had a good reason. I mean, he was up. Oh, shut the hell up. That's just stupid. Let me highlight for y'all. I want everybody in here, and I want everybody nationwide to listen in detail to the story that I am about to read you right now, right off my damn phone. I just got this story, all right? It was printed on Pro Football Live. Let's give credit where credit is due. Posted by Mike Florio, okay? Listen to this a couple days, this yesterday. Listen to this story. This is the details. And I'm going to read it from the second graph. It says, Antonio Brown's new contract with the Oakland Raiders carries with it $30.125 million in fully guaranteed money at signing. He already has earned a $1 million signing bonus. Ladies and gentlemen, that leaves $29.125 million left. $14.625 million this upcoming season, and an additional $14.5 million next season. Assuming that a suspension would void the guarantees, which is very possible, right? It says here, the Raiders would be able to cut Brown at any point and owe him nothing. They could do it even now, turning the Brown experiment into a $1 million mistake, along with the 3rd and 5th round pick that they gave up. Listen to this. If they were to suspend Brown without pay for week 1 this Monday night, they also could do it at any time during this 2019 season and avoid owing him anything further under the termination pay provision of the labor deal, since a player with 4 or more years of service can collect the remainder of his salary upon being released only if he's on a week 1 active roster. So listen to what this says. If I'm the Oakland Raiders, I gave you a guaranteed $30 million, but because of my behavior, my willingness to be belligerent, childish, truculent, stupid, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? I could suspend you for week 1, and the remainder of your deal is virtually unguaranteed. That means week 2 through 17, at any time, I can cut you and don't have to owe you. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, if I'm the Oakland Raiders, I suspend him right now. Guess why? It ain't even emotion now. Now it's business. So instead of me having to guarantee your salary, because remember, if I play you week 1, your salary for the entire year is guaranteed, and you get to act a fool anytime you want to. But if I suspend you week 1, but I don't suspend you again, what I hold over your head is anytime you want, anytime I want to. If you act up again, I can suspend you, and I don't have to owe you a dime. Now, if somebody acts belligerent, if they act childish, if they act insubordinate, and I can get away with not guaranteeing your deal, I'm sorry, I'm in a business position. Now it's not emotion. It's about business now. That's the equivalent of you buying a home. I'm just using a crazy analogy here. You buy a home and you're guaranteed every dollar, every mortgage payment. Somebody has said you can do what you want with the house, and damn it, I still got to give you the mortgage money. But because you acted up, the guarantee is now stripped from you, and at any given time, I can void the agreement. That puts me in a position of power. Antonio Brown handed the Oakland Raiders that power on a silver platter, all because he wanted to express himself emotionally and cuss the damn GM out. Now, if that ain't the epitome of stupidity, I don't know what is. So you go from being guaranteed $14 million for this upcoming season, $14 million for next season, and all I got to do to strip that guarantee away, all I got to do to void a permanent, definitive, unwavering $29.125 million agreement is to suspend you for week 1? Please, that brother suspended. That brother suspended. I wouldn't think twice. I wouldn't think twice. Because you know why, ladies and gentlemen? That's what business is. When you are making a business deal, what you are looking to do is to ensure as much monetary value to yourself as possible while giving away as least as possible. The Oakland Raiders knew to get Antonio Brown, we had to forfeit a 3rd and a 5th round pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And in exchange of that, not only do we acquire him, but we have to commit to giving him $30 million. We committed to giving him $30 million. And the one thing, the one provision that would eradicate the guarantee is that you act like you have some damn sense and you can't even do that? There's nothing to talk about. If I am the Oakland Raiders, Antonio Brown is suspended right now. Because guess what? I'm going to pay you week 2 through week 17 if you act right. I'm going to pay you. You're only going to miss 1 game's pay. But I have the freedom to get rid of you. I have the freedom to cut you. Now, everybody want to talk about Mike Mayock. Mike Mayock is the general manager for the Oakland Raiders. Mike Mayock is an individual that used to work in television doing what I'm doing. Matter of fact, Mike Mayock had me asking the NBA, why the hell don't I have a president of basketball operations job? I mean, damn, we giving television commentators and analysts GM jobs in the NFL. How come I can't get one in the NBA? That's how I was thinking. But I ain't knocking Mayock for taking that deal. And I'm certainly not questioning his football acumen. What I'm saying is, talk about nepotism at its height. The only thing I said about that is that don't happen for the brothers. I say it again, it don't happen for the brothers. John Lynch in San Francisco, even though he played, Mike Mayock, a media dude, don't happen for the brothers like that. But that's neither here nor there. The bottom line is this. Mike Mayock hasn't done a bad job since he arrived in Oakland, and I find nothing wrong that he did here. The Oakland Raiders, Antonio Brown never expressed no problem with them. Antonio wanted to force his way out of Pittsburgh. He did that. He wanted to do so he could get his money. He did that. He showed up on a shot with LeBron James, Maverick Carter, and the crew. Brother got paid, right? Or was about to get paid. This is what he was talking about, right? Well, the Oakland Raiders gave you your money. Guaranteed. You show up in Oakland. You got jacked up feet like a layer of yellow stuff under your feet. Look like a coat of just the nastiness, God. Okay, you tried some cryotherapy treatment in France and forgot to put on your damn socks. That wasn't the Raiders' fault. Then you turned around, and what did you do? You then have a problem with the helmet. Now, the NFL has been sued for billions. They fixate themselves on addressing safety issues in the National Football League. That's what they did. So not only did they come up with new helmets, ladies and gentlemen, that obviously tested and are considered to be considerably safer, and they've been certified, etc., which leaves Antonio Brown's helmets outdated, but they informed the players 5 years in advance this was coming. For the last 5 years, they said, change is coming this year. Here's what we're going to do. Prepare yourself. And in training camp, with 89 players on a roster at least, over 2,000 players in the National Football League, Antonio Brown is the lone player that filed a grievance about his helmet. What? 2,000 plus people playing in the NFL. One guy, complained about the helmet. It was Antonio Brown. He was also the one guy that flew in on an air balloon. All right? He was the one guy that missed practice with bad feet. Oh, by the way, people usually hide their feet when it looked like that. This brother showed it on Instagram. Okay? Then not only that, you go against the National Football League, you're on the phone with the National Football League trying to plead your case to wear a helmet that's been outdated because it's over 10 years old, and you tell the NFL to go F themselves. I'm telling you what I know. Okay? So not only did you do that, then you file a second grievance against them. And then in the process, because your helmet, you didn't like your helmet. Let me ask y'all a question. What does the helmet have to do with running sprints? What does the helmet have to do with running routes and catching passes by Derek Carr? But this brother took his old helmet and went home. but still expected his paycheck. And Mike Mayock and the Raiders was like, nah. You weren't here. Who the hell you think you are to just disappear, don't show up to work, and expect to get paid? This is what I'm talking about. So every time we condone something like that, we're condoning cats on the come up to act that way. Where's that gonna get you? It ain't gonna get you nowhere. This is the reality of the situation. This is what Antonio Brown did himself. I have not recalled. The only complaint that Antonio Brown had against the Oakland Raiders was the letter announcing his fine. Prior to that, he didn't have any issue with the Raiders, yet he's been causing them trouble since he arrived. So they finally said, you owe us money because you haven't showed up to work, and if anybody else hadn't showed up to work, we would have had to fine them, so we gonna fine you. And this brother was like, yo, nah, it ain't going down like that. Well, yes, the hell it is. Promise you, he gonna lose even more money now. This is the reality. So for me, here's my deal. We don't want to go as far as saying, cut Antonio Brown. Let's not be stupid. The brother's all world. One of the greatest wide receivers in the history of the National Football League. Clearly one of the greatest in the game today. Can he be cancerous to a locker room? Evidently so. We got to address that. We can't have Antonio Brown acting the way that he's been acting. But, real world talk, to greatness comes tolerance. Those who are great are tolerated a little bit more than those who are not. And so we want to tolerate Antonio Brown if we're the Oakland Raiders, but only to a point. To me, the Oakland Raiders have been handed an absolute gift. Here's why. Before you had to worry about losing him, having to pay the $30 million, and still leaving him to end up on the Patriots or somebody else who you know would pick him up on the cheap because he's phenomenal. Could you imagine Tom Brady having him to throw the football to? I mean, my God. But in this way, all you have to do, because you got to remember, see, under that scenario, Antonio Brown still gets his $30 million. He just gets to go elsewhere. Under this scenario, where you suspend him, but you keep him, oh, he's in danger of having his whole $30 million deal voided. How much y'all want to make a bet he behaves now? Now, if y'all recall, Antonio Brown was heard a few months ago talking about he don't need the money. It's not that important. Y'all see how players lie sometimes? Y'all see those lies? Let me tell y'all something. I bet you he ain't saying that today. Lesson learned. Lesson learned. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. I would suspend him right now for only one reason, to maintain the leverage. From the Oakland Raiders, I want the leverage. And making sure that I don't have to guarantee his money gives me the leverage that I need to keep him in line. And I would exercise it without hesitation. Antonio Brown, what time is it right now? It's 11:23 Central Time where we are. 12:23 Eastern Time. If it were me, a suspension would be announced by 12:25. 11:25, I'm sorry. A suspension would be announced within the next 90 seconds. Y'all think I'm joking. You don't know Stephen A. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Coming at you live from Texas Live right here in Arlington, Texas, home of the Dallas Cowboys. That was Straight Talk Wireless, everything for less. Only at Walmart. By the way, if you're sending your kid off to college this fall, remember that there's one thing college students need more than books or pencils or instant noodles. It's money. And you can send it with Zelle, a quick and easy way to send and receive money right from your banking app. It's easy to use, and the money you send with Zelle goes directly into your college student's bank account, typically within minutes if they're already enrolled. That way, they can pick out the perfect care package for themselves. So look for Zelle in your banking app or get more info at ZellePay.com. Zelle, this is how money moves. Terms and conditions apply.
he's never really been checked before. He's never really had the discipline that he probably deserved in the past. So let's give him that wake-up call and see how he responds. If he responds the right way, it was worth that one game. If he doesn't, then we know what we can do. We can literally cut him, and it won't cost us anything, maybe like $1 million. But my question to you is, do you think this wake-up call will work for Antonio Brown? Do you think this is the thing that makes him wake up? Now, depending on where you grew up, I'm going to go out on a limb and say there was one person you knew, either classmate, friend, family member, that was just, as my mama would say, hard-headed. You couldn't tell them nothing, right? They had to experience something for themselves despite numerous people telling them otherwise, that, yo, this is how it should be. This is where you messing up. Stop tripping. Get your stuff together, or you're going to be out of something, out of a job, out of this house, out of the school, what have you, right? Just a straight-up knucklehead, hard head, can't tell him anything. Antonio Brown is a hardhead. He's hard-headed. You can't tell him anything because everything in his life that he's overcome told him he wouldn't be successful, right? Where he grew up there in the Miami area, how he grew up there in the Miami area, and all of a sudden, he's a multimillionaire, right? So all the things in his life that told him he couldn't do something, and he overcame those things, then why would he necessarily listen to someone telling him what he can't do? Because sometimes you can't tell the difference between criticism and hate. Sometimes you can't tell the difference between criticism and support. Antonio Brown is hard-headed. You can't tell him anything. He has to experience it for himself. He has to experience it for himself. Is this suspension the wake-up call that he needs, and also the wake-up call that will work?
By Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
To the Stephen A. Smith Show, brought to you by the new Shell V-Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. Now with 4 levels of defense against gunk, wear, corrosion, and friction. Before I get to the calls, my honor and privilege to have my next guest on the line, NFL analyst extraordinaire for the family. ESPN does an outstanding job when he shows up on First Take. Obviously does an outstanding job when he shows up on Get Up. Does an outstanding job constantly on NFL Live, NFL Countdown, all things NFL. One of the great ones in this business, my buddy, the one and only Louis Riddick, is on the line with us right now. What's going on, Lou? How are you, man?
I'm doing good. You doing okay down there?
I'm doing all right. Listen, man, these Cowboy fans don't scare me, man. If anything, they scared of me. You understand? I got this. I got this. But let's get right to this, man. I mean, because obviously the biggest news, and I just highlighted everything you obviously already know about Antonio Brown. And I'm of the belief the Raiders would be absolutely stupid not to suspend him, because not only does he deserve it because of his insubordination, he deserves it because if you're the Raiders, you're now in a beautiful position of not having to worry about losing all of that money in the event that you let him go. All you got to do is suspend him for week 1. What are your thoughts about it?
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like they're set up right now to where they could kind of tip the scales in their favor in terms of sending the right message to the rest of the team, doing something that obviously would enhance their credibility when it comes to running the overall football operation, and respecting the fact that this is a team sport, no one's bigger than a team, and all those other things that we all basically believe in as far as team sports are concerned. A lot of it right now is set up for them to go ahead and make a decision that basically not many people, very few, would disagree with. But the fact of the matter is this is the real world in the NFL, and what I'm about to say, and that is you're paid to win football games, players are not all treated the same. As we know, we've seen people who have been given a lot more leeway who have done a lot less. And we know this, that once coaches or people who have ultimate decision-making power are fully invested in someone, and it is in their own best interest to make sure that that individual shines and does everything that they thought that they could do to win football games for you, that they're probably going to side with, they're going to err on the side of making sure that that person has every opportunity that they could possibly get in order to do that very thing, which is get on the football field and help them win football games. So what I'm saying is, I said this morning, I said this a little bit yesterday. When you listen to John talk about Antonio, it sounds much different than when you listen to Mike Mayock talk. And I think that ultimately, when you start reading the tea leaves and reading between the lines here, this to me is leading down the road of you're going to see him on Monday night.
Well, Louis Riddick, here's my issue. Money talks, and we understand that. And we know that the NFL is all about two things, money and control. And when you look at the fact that one game, and that's all it would be, one game suspension of Antonio Brown ultimately positions you to potentially void his deal with that addition, that extra $29 million guaranteed, because he got a $1 million signing bonus. Mm-hmm. If you could potentially void the $29 million in guaranteed dollars, if he continues to act up, right, and you give yourself that leverage, it's hard for me to fathom that the Raiders would forfeit the opportunity to have that kind of clout, that kind of cachet, when all that you're paying for it is a one-game suspension.
Yeah, it makes sense, doesn't it? It makes sense. Yeah. But, I mean, there may be, and that's what makes this one so tricky. Well, not so tricky. I think that's what makes this situation so interesting, is because you're dealing with human beings that have subjective opinions and are governed by emotion the same way the rest of us are. And people get very attached to and can become very stubborn and become very, I don't want to say narrow-minded, but very narrowly focused on what they want to have done and how they want to see things done and how they want to ultimately see it turn out. And many times they will do that regardless of what objectively seems like the best course of action would be. And I'm just saying, I think that's a very real possibility here in this case, because of the fact that, look, in the NFL, right? I mean, so like last night, the Chicago Bears lose to the Green Bay Packers. Most people would say, well, it's only one game. So if you lose that one game, you still got 15 more to go. And then some people go, but it was a division game at home that you lost. You only get to play 16 of them. You can't give away any game. So what if the people who are on the side of saying, well, AB needs to play because it's the Denver Broncos, it's at home, it's a division game, it's on Monday Night Football, big spot, lots of star power in that game, lots of spotlight. We want to roll out our shiny new toys. We want everybody feeling good about what the Raiders are going to be, both now and in the future. So we want all of our guns out there. We want it all out there. And if he shows the appropriate level of contrition, and the team accepts him, and the rest of the other 52 guys on the team say, hey, we're good with it, and we can kind of like smooth this over with Mike Mayock and whatever happened on the practice field, which I've heard varying stories about just how explosive that was, then, hey, let's roll with it. And sometimes, Stephen, on the inside, you know how it goes, right? I mean, so people maybe just massaging this situation to where it just all adds up to, let's have this guy who is a bona fide, perennial all-pro superstar that we brought here to help us do one thing, win games. Let's just have him help us win those games. All
right, well, if you do that, Louis Riddick, what kind of position does that put Mike Mayock in if John Gruden elects to make him play?
Absolutely. See, that could cause a whole other set of issues for you to have to deal with, for sure. No doubt about it. And I'm just giving both sides of it. Because I'm just trying to read the tea leaves here about where this may be heading. Yeah. If on the surface, and from the outside looking in, that looks like that could basically render your GM ineffective and make him just be a GM by name, by title. Because if that's what happens, you're basically saying, look, winning football games means more than guys towing the line here and conducting themselves in an appropriate manner and not being insubordinate and not being out of line. And then the whole term contract conduct detrimental means something totally different for this guy as it does for the other 52 guys. Yeah, it could set off a firestorm as far as other things. But I guess that's why it's going to be interesting to see what happens here over the next 48 to 72 hours.
Louis Riddick right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Obviously, you know where I'm at. I'm in Arlington, Texas, right outside of Dallas, home of the Dallas Cowboys and what have you. And now that they got Ezekiel Elliott signed, they actually think that they're going to do something this year. Damian Woody, Marcus Spears have them going to the Super Bowl. A game has not been played yet. How are you viewing the Dallas Cowboys this year, Louis Riddick?
No, I like the team. They ain't going to the Super Bowl though. But I like the football team.
So you like the team, but they're not going to the Super Bowl.
And they'll play against the Kansas City Chiefs. Andy Reid will get his first Super Bowl, and everybody's going to be happy. That's how the season's going to play out. So just go ahead and settle in and let it play itself out. But the Cowboys have done a tremendous job of really getting their philosophical beliefs in line, and then executing in lockstep as far as how you traditionally and realistically should build an NFL roster. They built the offensive line. They're taking care of the defensive line. They're trying to be strong down the middle, have a good running back, trying to lock up their quarterback. They have one of the best young centers in the league who's now healthy. They got two great young inside linebackers. Byron Jones flip-flops between corner and safety, one of the better young players in the league. They've got some nice philosophical underpinnings that should serve this football team for a long time. And I don't think they're going to win. They're not going to make it to the Super Bowl this year, but they're going to be around for a while. I think Dallas is here to stay now. I think they have now got their base underneath them, and they've got their core group of players. And I think every year now, legitimately, you're going to have to deal with the Cowboys, and that hasn't always been the case. Every year, I think they are set up for the long haul now.
Okay. Louis Riddick right here with Stephen A. Who you got coming out of the AFC? Last question to you.
Oh, that'll be KC. KC's going to the Super Bowl. The Chiefs are going to win it. The Ferrari, Pat Mahomes will win the Super Bowl this year. He'll get it this year.
So you think the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl and they're going to beat the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl?
Correct.
Okay.
That's what's happening.
All right. You sure?
Hey,
you sure?
Steve,
you ain't gonna switch. You ain't gonna switch and pick New England in the next month.
Hey, you know I don't go back on stuff, right or wrong. You know I don't go back.
That's true.
Okay.
I'll give you that. Even though when you were wrong last year, I couldn't find you for a few weeks. Even though that's true.
Come on now.
I couldn't find you for a few weeks. You didn't lie. You didn't go back. I just couldn't find you. You were a bit AWOL.
Hey, I had to lick my wounds a little bit, man. It was hard. It was hard.
I got you.
All right,
appreciate it, man. Keep up the great work. Looking forward to seeing you this weekend. All right. The one and only Louis Riddick right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News, 888-SAY. ESPN's the number to call up. That's 888-729-3776. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Back with more of your calls in a minute before Marcus Spears ends up starting off hour number 2 right here. By the way, when it comes to hiring, you don't have to waste time. You need to get to your short list of qualified candidates fast, don't you? That's why you need Indeed.com. Post a job in minutes, set up screening questions based on your job requirements, then zero in on qualified candidates using an intuitive online dashboard. Discover why more than 3 million businesses use Indeed for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. That's Indeed.com/hire. Search for greatness, y'all. Search Indeed.
Brought to you by Marathon. Marathon, fueling the American spirit.
I'm speculating here, but my gut tells me that Mayock and Gruden maybe didn't have the conversation with AB. They thought by coming there it would be different because those two dudes are there.
Well, listen, I go back to what did the actions tell you?
Right. I saw them with you. So the actions say we need to have a conversation. That's my point. Everything that AB has done in his career says, yo, you and I have to talk because this is what I believe. This is what I've been told. I need the truth from you right now.
Well, Michael, think about this. I don't even know if I would even have to have a conversation. If I'm trying to instill a culture, okay, an accountable culture, a culture where everyone is falls in line, do I really want a guy as talented as Antonio Brown is? Do I really want a guy who basically quit on his team in Week 17 when his team needed him the most?
It depends on who you are. That's the problem, though, Damon. It depends on which team you are. Because, look, from a business standpoint, the Raiders needed Antonio Brown, right? They're about to leave Oakland. They're going to Vegas. This is bigger than this 2019 season with this signing. It's about going forward, sure, but it's also having a star marquee player to market that team around when you go to Las Vegas. Let's be real.
Listen, absolutely. All these type of decisions have to be weighted, and now we see what the Oakland Raiders are going through, and this is part of the repercussions of making this type of decision. This is what you have to deal with.
Okay, so let's say, as Adam Schefter is reporting, that this suspension goes through, and he is sat down for Game 1. What impact do you think it will have on Antonio Brown?
What else is the Oakland Raiders going to do? He's still going to get his money. Okay, he might miss a game check this week, but he's still got $30 million guaranteed.
I know, right?
$30 million guaranteed. So I don't know how much is going to affect Antonio Brown that much.
Right. But again, no one has ever told Antonio Brown no. And maybe this is the first time that it's happened to him in such a public setting, and we'll see if it has any impact whatsoever. But clearly, Mike Mayock, maybe John Gruden on his side as well, I would assume they are not having this Antonio Brown nonsense to start their 2019 season.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Quote, buy and save on home insurance with Progressive's new Home Quote Explorer, only at Progressive.com. Plus, tune in for college football action tomorrow as USC hosts Stanford, presented by Dr. Pepper. Coverage begins at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Let's go to Mike. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Mike, real quick.
Hey, Stephen A. I appreciate you taking the call. Skol Vikings.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was wondering, as it pertains to these teams that have a situation where there's a detrimental situation that goes on and they want to choose to let a player go, are there not provisions that maybe the NFL can take in order to not make it so easy to access those players after the fact, whether that's saying, hey, you're going to have to get...
Well, the NFL could do a lot of different things, but it has to be collectively bargained. And once it's collectively bargained and whatever stipulations they work out, then they have the power to do. Some things are exercised by the team, and other things are exercised by the league because they want to take it out of the team's hands so players can't blame the team. They can blame the league. For example, you got that commissioner's exempt list. So things were dicey, child abuse, or sexual assault, or, domestic violence, things of that nature. You would see Commissioner Goodell put people on the NFL's commissioner's exempt list. They would still get their money, but they wouldn't be allowed to play football. Why was that? Because for the teams to do something like that, it can alienate teams with potential players out there that might consider coming to play for them. But if it's the league, then it's the league, and it absolves the individual teams from blame, which means they're free to operate accordingly and move around without being concerned about impunity or punitive damages. That's what you have to think about. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Hour number 2 up next. My man Marcus Spears, former member of the Dallas Cowboys. He'll jumpstart hour number 2 right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Don't touch that dial.
There is no easy path to this destination. In order to reach a distant goal, you must take one step at a time.
We in the field like all day like all night like and we ready like our best like and we get it like and my dog like and it's all like all day like don't play with me like all day like all dog like it's now like
It's SportsCenter right now. Nabil Kareem with you. It is all good in Dallas right now with Ezekiel Elliott locked up and back in the fold. However, the question now becomes, is he ready? Yes, he's been training in Cabo, but it's Cabo. So, Jason Garrett, how's Zeke looking?
Yeah, Zeke had a good practice. He had a good practice Wednesday and was able to go out there and do what we asked him to do yesterday. And he's making progress as the week goes on.
After basically 2 days, you get a feel for what you want to do with him, how much you want to play with him?
I don't really have a feel yet. We'll practice today. We'll make the determinations with him and really with everybody what their role is going to be for the game on Sunday.
Since he started Zeke's rookie season, he leads the league in touches with more than 1,000. The Cowboys and Jason Garrett have to feel good knowing that one of the most reliable players in the league as of late will be standing in their backfield on Sunday. Tyreek Hill has signed a 3-year extension with the Chiefs. It's worth $54 million. 35 of that is guaranteed. He was recently investigated regarding injuries to his son, however, wasn't charged. On the field, he has been exceptional. His numbers in receptions, yards, and receiving touchdowns have increased in his first 3 years of work. College football news. Stanford quarterback KJ Costello won't play Saturday against USC. The senior left just before halftime in last week's win over Northwestern after taking a hit to the head. Redshirt sophomore Davis Mills will start in his place. He was 7 of 14 for 81 yards in relief of Costello. The U.S. Open continues today on ESPN with the men's semifinals starting at 4 Eastern from Arthur Ashe Stadium. Medvedev, Dimitrov, then it is Nadal taking on Berrettini in primetime. You can also watch on the app. Let's get to Stephen A.
Right.
Number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show here with you over the airwaves of ESPN Radio, national television airwaves of ESPN News, coming at you as I love to do every weekday. 888-SAY-ESPN is the number to call up. This 888-729-3776. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. It is being presented to you by Progressive Insurance. With more than 30 unique coverage options available, Progressive knows small business. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. In just a moment, I'll have my next guest on the line. Hopefully he is there. They will let me know. Former member of the Dallas Cowboys, Marcus Spears. He will be on the show with yours truly to talk about this upcoming NFL season. Tyreek Hill, Kansas City Chiefs. Congratulations. 3 years, $54 million. Got to give him love. Congratulations. He deserves this. It's $18 million a year. The brother's worth it. Michael Thomas making over $20 million. Julio Jones making over $20 million. I'm sorry. Tyreek Hill deserves the $18 million. I just want to be clear about that. But I'll get back to all of that NFL stuff in just a minute. Actually, I'll get to some of it with my next guest. Former member of the Dallas Cowboys, my buddy, partner in crime, contributor to First Take, contributor to Get Up, SEC football and beyond. One of the rising stars in this business, the one and only Marcus Spears, is on the line with yours truly. What's going on, big boy? How are you?
My brother, what's up, OG?
Listen, I'm here in your part of town. I'm here in Arlington, Texas, near Dallas.
Oh, I saw
Literally telling the fans, y'all ain't gonna win a damn thing this year. I'm trying to get that. I'm trying to get them right on that. They're not thoroughly convinced. Marcus Spears, go ahead and convince them. Deliver the bad news that they're not going anywhere this year. Go ahead, do it.
Yeah, I'm glad you're fortunate that I'm not there. That's number one. Number one, I wish I was there so you could have somebody that could actually go with you on this. Like, here's the thing, though. As bad as it pains me from being, let me separate my fandom and say, I want the Dallas Cowboys to win the Super Bowl and the NFC. All right?
Okay.
But I got the Saints going to the NFC Championship. And I got the Chiefs going to the AFC Championship. And I got them two meeting in the Super Bowl. So I thought you were really talking about Boogie Cousins this morning.
I lost my perspective just I lost my perspective just a little bit there. I was thinking about you. I don't know how the hell I confused his name with yours, but I did it. But nevertheless,
harder than everybody.
I got you. Here's the deal. What are your expectations for the Cowboys this season, and in particular this Sunday's game against the Giants?
Barring that they can beat Philly, and I'm not talking about split 1-1. If they can beat Philly twice, this team will be good enough to go to the NFC Championship. My only pause on Dallas is the unknowns, right? If Dak is not successful, if Zeke somehow gets hurt, or if they just play a bad game, like it is. Being young is great from a physical standpoint, but being young ain't good when you get to those points in the season, because you need guys that have that. You need the main guys, right? The main guys, when you at Dallas, doesn't have a lot of experience. They're good football players, and they'll continue to gain experience, but the main guys don't have those experiences. Just like last night when I saw Aaron Rodgers and Mitch Trubisky. Everybody talked about how great Chicago's defense is, which it is. But I'm going to take 12 in that game because this is so cute. So Drew Brees being in New Orleans gives me reason to believe that the Saints can win the NFC and make it to the championship. And now when I look at Dallas in this first divisional game against the Giants, it shouldn't be a problem, right? The alarm will go off if Dallas struggles against the New York Giants. Now, I do believe this game will be close because it's a division opponent, and it's for a time being throughout the game. But the Dallas Cowboys roster, the playmakers, the ability of this team on both sides of the ball is far more what the Giants have on their side. First of all, Golden Tate ain't going to be there. That's the guy you thought was going to come in and somehow try to replace Odell Beckham Jr. We don't know what his side is going to do. Daniel Jones might have to play. Gettleman and Sherman may be forced to play Daniel Jones early. And everybody has talked about this preseason that Daniel Jones had. I don't want to knock the kid. He's throwing the ball exceptionally well. He's looked like a professional quarterback that can make hay in this league. But Stephen A., that tempo changes, baby. When you get to this regular season, that tempo changes tremendously. So Dallas should have no problem against the Giants on Sunday.
When you look at the rest of the AFC, obviously you said what you said about New Orleans. Anybody with sense should be looking at the New Orleans Saints and thinking they could come out of the NFC, considering that they were in the NFC Championship game last year. There was a pass interference that wasn't called. Drew Brees is approaching, the end. I could see him winning the Super Bowl and retiring, for crying out loud. But is there a third team that comes to your mind? Actually, you mentioned Philadelphia. We just finished talking about Dallas. New Orleans. Is there a sleep in the NFC that you think we should be paying attention to that we're not?
Obviously, L.A. The Rams, but I don't know if you consider that a sleeper.
Right.
You consider how healthy Todd Gurley be for the duration of the season. He changes the whole dynamic on that football team. And Ndamukong Suh played well down the stretch. How do they replace that production and helping Aaron Donald and taking some of that pressure off of him? I like Michael Brockers. I still like this defensive line. But the key to L.A. is Gurley's health, and that's something that we can't bank on. History tells us that when Todd Gurley is in that lineup
that they are as good as anybody in the NFL. But history also tells us that Todd Gurley will have to miss a game or two or three throughout the season just because of an arthritic knee that can't heal. So that'll be the team. But I don't know how much of a sleeper you can call a team that played in the Super Bowl last year. But when I look at the NFC from this standpoint, Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints with Michael Thomas and all of those guys that they brought in, and let's not forget, they brought in Jared Cook as well, who is a very good tight end. And when you put a good tight end with Drew Brees, we've seen with Jimmy Graham, we've seen with Benjamin Watson, that he can be far more effective, and that's not to even mention Alvin Kamara being in the backfield with all that he can do as well.
What about the AFC? Is there a sleep in the AFC that you think we should be paying attention to that we're not?
I think the Chiefs and the Patriots are so far in front of everybody else when you start thinking about the AFC that it's almost laughable that anybody will beat those guys because of what they are, right? We got the Belichick and obviously the Brady connection, but we also have Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid. By the way, just signed Shady McCoy, just gave Terrell a new deal. Travis Kelce, arguably the best tight end in football. So I think those two teams are the tier. And then obviously got the sexy pick in the Cleveland Browns. But we don't know what the hell they're going to be today. You know, I know a lot of talent is pounded in Cleveland. They have a really good defense, really good football players. But so much of winning football games is chemistry, knowing how to play with each other, knowing how to handle when you lose games or when you go on a losing streak, that it almost it gives me enough balls to say, let's just wait and see how these young guys react when things don't go well. And then you never can count Cleveland out because of Big Ben, Mike Tomlin, obviously what he's done. But I just believe in the AFC right now, especially with Andrew Luck retiring, Pat Mahomes and Tom Brady, and obviously New England and what they've done and what the Chiefs are doing. Andy Reid has been the arch nemesis for Bill Belichick. That has been the one guy in the NFL where we can say when Andy Reid plays Bill Belichick, the game is going to be decided by who makes the right decision. And Andy has half and Bill has half.
My last question to you, Marcus Pitts, because I know you got to run and do some work on television. I appreciate you, man. Antonio Brown apologized to Mike Mayock, the general manager for the Oakland Raiders, in the aftermath of his profanity-laced tirade against Mayock, which also included calling him a cracker. As a result of that, we don't know what the Raiders are going to do. I'm of the mindset that since suspending him for the very first game would position the Raiders to void the $29 million plus he's guaranteed to make. It put him in a position to void it in the event another insubordinate act takes place. I think that's exactly what they should do to give themselves the power, to give themselves the leverage, as opposed to being worried about losing $30 million altogether. What are your thoughts about what the Raiders should do with Antonio Brown at this point?
I understand totally where you're coming from, but here's the deal, Steve. You know, you and I have our conversations outside of TV. Winning is the cure-all, and winning is the number one goal. And the Raiders are going to exhaust every possibility to get Antonio Brown on the field, which I think just recently it came out that he made a public apology to the team, and he was going to play Monday. So look, here's the deal. We can be emotional about this, or we can look at it for what it is, Stephen A. And you know me as well as anybody by now because we work together, and I've listened to you. You tutored me. You've always told me to be who you are on TV. Nobody gives a damn about your behavior when in between those times you start to ball. Right? We've seen that time and time again, and there are very few outliers in this league. When we talk about behavior, now we're not talking about domestic abuse. We're not talking about guys that dealing with major issues. But when we talk about having spats with GM, even though this ain't the first spat that a star player that had with a GM. It just hadn't hit the public, right? Antonio Brown's biggest issue, his biggest wrongdoing, is not only what he's done, but he's played this out in the media. He's used that tool to bring negative attention to not only Pittsburgh, but Oakland. That's been his mistake. The things that AB is doing these GMs and head coaches that's been around long enough to know this is not foreign to any NFL franchise that have dealt with players of his stature. What I will say is this. John Gruden sold the house for Khalil Mack. He drafted Cleveland Farrell. He drafted Josh Jacobs in order to make this team better offensively. They have a question at quarterback if Derek Carr is really the guy. And now you bring in Antonio Brown to make sure that all of those things go right in between that 53 in the third and 110 long, right? And that's all that matters to them. So once they get Antonio Brown on the field, this is Oakland's level of thinking. Once we get into game, if we can get past all of this maneuver and he goes out and catches for 130 and 2 touchdowns, everybody going to remember why they deal with Antonio Brown. Now, obviously, we're not sitting on the stage or sitting on a television show. We're looking at this situation and saying, that's a problem you don't deal with it that may affect everything that's going on with your team.
Right.
But the real honest truth is, as long as his production matches what he's bringing as far as things that's negative, and they win games, and they about to move to Vegas, and they have a marquee name that they can put up on a billboard and put his big picture on the side of the stadium, as long as they can get him to the game, they'll deal with this as long as they can. It's like a girlfriend. I know she's not good for me, but she's in right now, and that's what Oakland is going to do with Antonio Brown until they can't handle it anymore.
Marcus Spears, I know you got to go do your TV work, so go ahead and do that, man. I appreciate you, bro. Thanks so much. We'll talk soon.
All right, brother. Later.
All right. The one and only Marcus Spears doing a great job, as he always does. Catch him on NFL Live in just a few minutes or so. He was right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News, 888-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Let's get to the phones. Let's go to Thornton. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Thornton? What's up?
Stephen A., how you doing in Dallas Cowboys country?
All right, I'm here. Go ahead, man.
Well, I just wanted to say, we've had a whole lot of toxic issues going on in the NFL today. But I want to say we've seen a plethora of bad men, well-deserved of their money, gain respect like Ezekiel Elliott and Le'Veon Bell with these new tactics of understanding how they are as a player and what they're worth to an organization. But with this whole Antonio Brown situation, taken from the East Coast to the West Coast, leaving your Steelers, how do you feel? I just saw on the TV that they actually are not going to suspend him now for Monday.
I think they're stupid for not doing that.
I agree with you, but I
think the Raiders. And guess what? It's not personal. It's not some animus against Antonio Brown or whatever. But if I guarantee you $30 million, and you are acting up, acting belligerent, and causing me headaches, and you give me an in to position myself to regain the leverage by having the power to void your contract at any moment that I want to, and all I got to do is suspend you for the opening game of the season, you're behind is sitting down. I'm suspending you. I think the Raiders are absolutely stupid for not suspending them. Dumb. Am I clear about that? Stupid, dumb. Do you need another incendiary word along those lines to get my point? I think it's absolutely stupid. I'd have suspended that brother yesterday. If you're telling me, and remember, I'm not talking about his behavior. I'm not talking about him as a person. I'm talking business. I went from being stuck with $30 million to owe you to now I don't have to pay you anything if I don't want to. All I got to do is suspend you one game, the opening game of the season. That is leverage. I'm not giving that up. I'd have suspended him. I'd suspended him yesterday. I wouldn't have hesitated. Ain't hard for me. Appreciate the call, Thornton. Carlton, you're live with Stephen A. What's up, buddy?
Oh, my gosh. I turned on First Take this morning, and I felt seriously ill watching you dance around the stage there in a New England Patriots jersey.
That's right. Just to taunt the Dallas Cowboys who call themselves America's team.
I'm sorry, my friend. Your Steelers black and gold affinity card is hereby revoked.
Not at all.
You are excommunicated from Steeler Nation.
You don't get to make that call. Mr. Ryan Fitzpatrick is the second coming of Dan Marino. Carlton, you don't get to make that call.
Man's going to get killed
you're not a Steelers fan. You don't patrol Steeler Nation.
Hey, you know what? The Steelers are going to put your sorry visage on their bulletin board, you in that Patriots jersey, to motivate them them this Sunday. To get
It was
them
just it was just taunting the Dallas Cowboy fans.
What?
It's all Steeler love, baby. Come Sunday, I'll be rooting for my Steelers harder than ever. I ain't no damn
You're gonna
Patriots
be up
fan.
in
I just think they're a better
Fox
representative
there,
of
Stephen A.
America
You're gonna
than the
fly up
Cowboys.
to New England and be sitting next to your buddy there.
You know, he is my buddy. Mr. Kraft is my buddy. I will admit
I
that.
just pray that the Dallas Cowboys and their fans can be part of the rebellion. You know, I've got a saying for 2019. It's I think the NFL should put out an ABP, not an APB, an all-points bulletin, but an ABP. Anything but the Patriots and their rule-breaking coach. Please, Dallas, please get better and take down the Death Star. Take down Darth Vader. Take down the people that Stephen A. Smith is now affiliating himself with.
Hey, all I'm trying to say is this. When we talk about America, this great country of ours, all right, we are synonymous with winning. We're synonymous with being number one. And the Patriots have 6 Super Bowl rings. The Dallas Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl since 1995. Okay? They are not synonymous with greatness. And I have a problem with the Dallas Cowboys being recognized as America's team. I don't mind them being the Dallas Cowboys, but they are not America's team. They should not be America's team. That's all I'm trying to say, Carl.
They wear the white hats, Stephen A. The Patriots wear the black hats. The Patriots are the perennial rule breakers, always looking to get one up over on anybody. And the fact that
why don't the
Dallas
Cowboys learn how to break rules like the Patriots do?
You now are rooting for those
It's not my fault they don't know how to cheat as good.
Oh, man, it makes me so ill, Stephen A. So ill. So ill.
All right, Carlton. I'll be talking to you Monday after the game, buddy.
Take it easy.
All right, man. Take it easy, buddy. Let's go to John. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, John?
Great to get through to you from Las Vegas, Nevada, the greatest city in the world.
Yes, sir. What's going on?
I just think that somehow Rosenhaus and Oakland have worked out something that it's not going to be guaranteed, and he's on a trial basis. They can't be that stupid to be on the hook for $14 million without letting something going on. There's absolutely something going on between Rosenhaus and the team.
You know what? You're probably right. I don't know. I don't know definitively, but I don't blame you for thinking like that because it makes no sense. In the world of business, you're telling me that I was on a hook for $30 million to a guy. He acts up, engaging in insubordination, disrespect, and shirking his responsibilities to this team by not showing up to meetings and things of that nature. And I have an opportunity to get off the hook of the 29 out of the $30 million, and all I got to do is suspend him for the opening game. I don't have to suspend him for games 2 through 16, 17. All I have to suspend him for is the opening night, and his salary can be voided at my discretion, and I give up that leverage. I don't understand it. I mean, Drew Rosenhaus must have pictures on somebody or something. Something's not right. I've never heard of a professional team, particularly one in the NFL, that would give up that kind of leverage. I've never heard of it, ever.
No, if you're still on, I agree with you. It's completely impossible.
Does it make any sense?
We'll never find out. We will never find out.
Oh, we'll find out. We'll find out. Trust me. You understand what I'm saying? This is 2019, baby. Everything comes home. You know, there's always somebody singing. Don't ever forget I said that. Might not be today, might not be tomorrow, might not be a week, 2 weeks from now. But eventually, we will know the truth. This is how it goes. Like I told you, I was an insider in the NBA. I mean, I still am to some degree, but I mean, my Lord, I lived it for years. All I did was know who people's enemies were. You find folks' soft spot and you squeeze. I got that line from Mission Impossible. You find somebody's soft spot and you squeeze. And these folks in the professional sports, they got enemies all over the place. All you got to do is find out who they are. It's not hard. Find out who's connected and who don't like who. And then you go to the person that don't like that person, and they'll give you all the goods. It's very easy, especially in a world where agents exist. It's not hard at all. Doug, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Stephen A., it just came across that AB is going to play in Denver Monday night.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
That's
how do you
Gruden
feel
right there.
about that? I mean, I'm appalled.
I think Gruden is weak. It looks weak as hell. I'm not going to say he is, because that's character assassination, and I don't feel that way. I'm actually very fond of John Gruden, but because of the work that he did here at ESPN for 9 years covering Monday Night Football, he was outstanding. But let me be very, very clear. This situation, his whole handling of Antonio Brown, he looks pathetically weak. No question about it. You're the $100 million man. You got $18 million in additional bonuses. I mean, Gruden's tenure in Oakland is more secure than any player. Any player, anybody. All right? He has the power to hire and fire. He got rid of Reggie McKenzie, the former GM. Brought in his man Mike Mayock, who had no executive experience. He was an analyst on TV doing what I'm doing. Okay? You know, he got rid of Amari Cooper, who's class personified, and a number one receiver here. He got rid of Khalil Mack, the Mack daddy, okay? All right, he's in Chicago tearing it up. And you bring in Antonio Brown, and you can't even suspend it for one game, when it would give you, the owner, and you in particular, $29 million worth of leverage. And you can't even do that. John Gruden looks pathetic and weak in this. I'm not calling him pathetic. I'm not calling him weak. I'm saying with this particular situation, he looks pathetically weak, like he's willing to compromise himself and his own damn manhood, if we want to be honest about it, for Antonio Brown. And as far as I'm concerned, Mike Mayock, you really have no power. Listen, let me cultivate a relationship with John Gruden. That's it. If I'm a player, let me be a high-end producer and cultivate a relationship with John Gruden, and that way, Mike Mayock, I don't even have to deal with you. You useless now. Because for John Gruden to make this decision, for him to come up to Mayock publicly and disrespect him like that, and still not even get suspended for a game when it would give you $29.125 million in leverage, assuming that story's true. If that's the case, for you not to make this business decision, it's beyond weak. It's beyond weak, and it shows why Oakland ain't going no damn place, at least not this season. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You're listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Back with your calls and more in a minute, so don't touch that dial. By the way, if you're sending your kid off to college this fall, remember that there's one thing college students need more than books or pencils or instant noodles. That's money. And you can send it with Zelle, a quick and easy way to send and receive money right from your banking app. It's easy to use, and the money you send with Zelle goes directly into your college student's bank account, typically within minutes if they're already enrolled. That way, they can pick out the perfect care package for themselves. So look for Zelle in your banking app or get more information at ZellePay.com. Zelle, this is how money moves. Terms and conditions apply.
The Cowboys were willing to make him the highest paid runner.
He had 2 more years on his deal.
We can get caught up in the money and the guarantees.
This is a huge win for both parties. They paid a premium for a premium player. This is a really good football player.
he's never really been checked before. He's never really had the discipline that he probably deserved in the past. So let's give him that wake-up call and see how he responds. If he responds the right way, it was worth that one game. If he doesn't, then we know what we can do. We can literally cut him, and it won't cost us anything, maybe like $1 million. But my question to you is, do you think this wake-up call will work for Antonio Brown? Do you think this is the thing that makes him wake up? Now, depending on where you grew up, I'm going to go out on a limb and say there was one person you knew, either classmate, friend, family member, that was just, as my mama would say, hard-headed. You couldn't tell them nothing, right? They had to experience something for themselves despite numerous people telling them otherwise, that, yo, this is how it should be. This is where you messing up. Stop tripping. Get your stuff together, or you're going to be out of something, out of a job, out of this house, out of the school, what have you, right? Just a straight-up knucklehead, hard head, can't tell him anything. Antonio Brown is a hardhead. He's hard-headed. You can't tell him anything because everything in his life that he's overcome told him he wouldn't be successful, right? Where he grew up there in the Miami area, how he grew up there in the Miami area, and all of a sudden, he's a multimillionaire, right? So all the things in his life that told him he couldn't do something, and he overcame those things, then why would he necessarily listen to someone telling him what he can't do? Because sometimes you can't tell the difference between criticism and hate. Sometimes you can't tell the difference between criticism and support. Antonio Brown is hard-headed. You can't tell him anything. He has to experience it for himself. He has to experience it for himself. Is this suspension the wake-up call that he needs, and also the wake-up call that will work?
Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
I love this beat. Beat right there. I like that. That's on the Stephen A. Smith Show. You don't get that beat everywhere, y'all, because everybody don't have that kind of flavor. You know what I'm saying? Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. 2018 American League MVP Mookie Betts and the Red Sox host the New York Yankees, presented by Indeed. Coverage begins at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Betts has hit 26 home runs and has 91 RBIs this year. This player resume is brought to you by Indeed, used by over 3 million businesses for hiring. Post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Search for greatness. Search Indeed. Back to the phones we go. Let us go to Jamie in Chicago. You got some explaining to do because guess what? Mitchell Trubisky did not look good last night. The Chicago Bears offense looked absolutely awful. I don't know if Green Bay's defense is that damn good, but I know they looked spectacular last night. What's up, bro? What happened?
Let me tell you, Stephen A. I don't know if you've seen the forecast here in Chicago. It's a kind of cloudy day. It explains the mood here in Chicago, Stephen A. It's a beautiful day to not be a Bears fan, because I'm not. Let me tell you.
Yeah, you shouldn't be.
I'm not. And if I please may steal one of your great catchphrases, what can go wrong will go wrong, Stephen A. I mean, I had to sit through work day in and day out of my coworkers bloviating and hyping up the Bears and saying, oh, well, we won 12-4. You know we're going to win the Super Bowl. We're going to go to the Super Bowl. We're going to be great this year. Mitchell Trubisky, to Lil Mack, and all the crew, we're going to be great. And it just goes to show, Stephen A., everything that could have gone wrong with the Chicago Bears went wrong.
Well, listen, don't get too excited, damn it. I mean, listen, y'all got to the playoffs last year, but it wasn't like everybody's looking at y'all like gangbusters. The fact of the matter is he don't have much to work with, Mitchell Trubisky I'm talking about here. You know, I mean, they could give him a slew of other weapons. He doesn't have that available to him, and that's part of the reason why he didn't look that good. Their defense is elite, but their offense is highly suspect. We recognize that. It's official. We'll see where they go from here. I got to run, but I appreciate the call. Thank you so much. Leroy, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Hi, Stephen A.
I'm listening.
I want to ask you, do you feel that Antonio Brown, with all the trouble he's starting right now, is he on the right team? I mean, we could all say that.
Stop right there. Stop right there. Antonio Brown didn't give a damn about being on a particular team because he was on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And what he wanted was his money. It wasn't like he asked to be traded to the New England Patriots. It wasn't like he asked to be traded to play with Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers or somebody. What Antonio Brown was after was his money. He got his money. So I don't want to hear that question like that because it implies that, oh, he might not be where he really wants to be, where his priority wasn't his locale. His priority was his money.
Yeah.
You understand that?
Yes, sir.
They give you your money. You know what? You sign on the dotted line to be to honor your commitments. I got news for you. You know what? I got a wonderful job here. Did you know that?
Yeah.
I mean, my job is pretty kind of fly. I mean, shoot, I go to games, I travel for free. You know what I'm saying? I make a good salary. You can tell by the clothes I wear, I look pretty fly. I mean, we all know. You know, I got shocking news for you. There are days that I don't want to show up for work. Might be tired, might be preoccupied. You understand? But let me tell you something. I got my set amount of vacation and all of that other stuff. Outside of that, yo, bro, I show up. You got a job to do. You know, you think these people that showed up here today and blessed me with their presence, you think they got jobs that they want to go to every single day? You think everything is peaches and creams? You think everybody sitting there and smiling and cheesing like George Foreman and talking about how great life is? Hell no. People got problems. People got issues. But you know what they do? They honor their obligations because that's how you ensure that you continue to get your check. This man had an obligation to show up. He didn't show. And damn it, the Raiders fined him for it. And he lost his damn mind. And guess what? Me suspending him, swearing that I would, don't really have much to do with that. What it has to do with is that the way you've been acting, I got an opportunity to get out of guaranteeing you the extra $29 million. All I got to do is suspend you for one night. I don't have to suspend you any other night. I can suspend you for one night, and over the course of the next 2 years, I get to allow you to play game to game to ensure that you behave yourself and act right and be the professional you promised to be. Oh, man, you're behind and suspended. I wouldn't think twice. That brother would have been suspended inside of 5 seconds. I'm here to tell you. Y'all done lost y'all damn mind. Appreciate the call. Dwayne, talk to me.
Hey, how you doing, Steve? First of all,
what's up?
What you're saying, you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, you had one man who's sitting on his knee to protest about what's not right in this country, but you got another man who gets in the league, making all this money, and then carry on like he do, and then allow him to stay in the league and not be suspended. I don't think it's right. I think he should be suspended, and I agree with what you're saying. Have a blessed day, brother.
Thank you, my brother. I appreciate that. Matt, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me. What's up, Matt?
Okay, y'all need to get off Antonio Brown back. Okay?
Okay.
Because and listen to me good before you go off on me, Stephen A. I'm a fan of yours from way back.
I might go off on you, but I'm gonna listen. but it better be short. Go ahead.
Okay. Le'Veon Bell thumbed his nose at $14 million because he didn't want to be in Pittsburgh. Ain't nobody criticizing him. When Carson Palmer didn't want to stay in Cincinnati, he said, "I'll quit. I have plenty of money." They let him go to the Raiders. So why can't Antonio Brown be Antonio Brown? And then for punishing him.
Okay, no. You don't get to answer the damn question and then ask the damn question and then answer it. I answer your question. You asked the question, right, Matt? Well, let me answer you. Number one, Le'Veon Bell was trying to get out of Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh wanted to franchise tag him and pay him 1 year at a time. And Le'Veon Bell was looking for a lengthy, long-term deal, which is what he got from the Jets. His situation was totally different, okay? And he just sat out. That's all. That was strictly business, contract dispute. No harm, no foul. In the case of when you bring up Antonio Brown, remember, when he wanted out of Pittsburgh, nobody was getting on him because we all understood that the guarantee portion of his deal had expired, and this was all a maneuver to get the hell out of Pittsburgh so he could land someplace else and get his money. Nobody hated on that. He got his money in Oakland. They gave him the $30 million guarantee. He was happier than a pig in mud. Flew in on a balloon, on an air balloon, for crying out loud. Messed up his feet in France. Ain't got nothing to do with Oakland. Had a helmet issue with the NFL. Ain't got nothing to do with the Oakland Raiders. And because you decided that you didn't like those issues, which had nothing to do with the Oakland Raiders, you were missing minicamp. You were missing practices. You were missing organized team activities, which were mandated. These are the kind of things that Mike Mayock used to highlight the fine. So the point that I'm making to you is you don't have anything comparable to that. The other things were business decisions. This was personal stuff that Antonio Brown took upon himself to make a scene out of. It affected the Raiders, who he had no beef with. And the Raiders said, all right, this is a situation. Every avenue's been exhausted. Enough's enough. Come out here and perform. How do you not see that, Matt?
I see it, but then he should have been suspended a long time ago because they giving him too much leeway. And as long as
stop right there. That's the whole point. Now you're saying he should have been suspended a long time ago. Well, damn it, this is the opening week of the season. And he just cussed the GM out yesterday. It ain't like he cussed the GM out a month ago and they decided now to suspend him or not to suspend him because they're not going to suspend him. The point is this happened yesterday. So since it happened yesterday, Matt, what do you propose? Since you just acknowledged they should have suspended him before, okay. What do you propose now?
Oakland got to put a winning product on the field, and you know that. They got that big stadium in Las Vegas.
You know what, Matt, all due respect, you full of it, bro. Because you just acknowledged you would have suspended him weeks ago. He didn't do anything that warranted getting suspended weeks ago. It wasn't until his act of insubordination and disrespect yesterday that it crossed the line. So your point is not valid. The fact that you admitted that you thought he should have been suspended weeks ago shows how clueless you are, because he really should be suspended now. Have a nice damn day. I don't have time. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Back with your calls to close out the show in a minute. You're listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. My man.
Need game tickets? Find your seats at Vivid Seats.
I'm speculating here, but my gut tells me that Mayock and Gruden maybe didn't have the conversation with AB. They thought by coming there it would be different because those two dudes are there.
Well, listen, I go back to what did the actions tell you?
Right. I saw them with you. So the actions say we need to have a conversation. That's my point. Everything that AB has done in his career says, yo, you and I have to talk because this is what I believe. This is what I've been told. I need the truth from you right now.
Well, Michael, think about this. I don't even know if I would even have to have a conversation. If I'm trying to instill a culture, okay, an accountable culture, a culture where everyone falls in line, do I really want a guy as talented as Antonio Brown is? Do I really want a guy who basically quit on his team in Week 17 when his team needed him the most?
It depends on who you are. That's the problem, though, Damon. It depends on which team you are because, look, from a business standpoint, the Raiders needed Antonio Brown. Right? They're about to leave Oakland. They're going to Vegas. This is bigger than this 2019 season with this signing. It's about going forward, sure, but it's also having a star marquee player to market that team around when you go to Las Vegas. Let's be real.
Listen, absolutely. All these type of decisions have to be weighted, and now we see what the Oakland Raiders are going through, and this is part of the repercussions of making this type of decision. This is what you have to deal with.
Okay, so let's say, as Adam Schefter is reporting, that this suspension goes through and he is sat down for game one, what impact do you think it will have on Antonio Brown?
What else is the Oakland Raiders going to do? He's still going to get his money. Okay, he might miss a game check this week, but he's still got $30 million guaranteed.
I know, right?
$30 million guaranteed. So I don't know how much is going to affect Antonio Brown that much.
Right. But again, no one has ever told Antonio Brown no. And maybe this is the first time that it's happened to him in such a public setting, and we'll see if it has any impact whatsoever. But clearly Mike Mayock, maybe John Gruden on his side as well, I would assume they are not having this Antonio Brown nonsense to start their 2019 season.
Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
Do you have frequent heartburn? Like the kind where you have an acid stashed everywhere in case it pops up? You know what I mean. You keep some in your bag or your desk or your car or your nightstand. You have those chalky tablets ready for whenever and wherever heartburn strikes. Well, listen up. There's an easier way to deal with your heartburn. That's Prilosec OTC. Just one pill a day will last a full 24 hours with zero heartburn. Kick your antacid habit. It's possible with Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief. Back to the phones we go. Let's go to Blake. You're live with Stephen A. What's up?
What's up, Stephen A? Just got to say, man, love your show. You're the best, man. My question is quickly, I'm blown away by how the media and everybody's just basically brushing this under the rug and pushing it aside so easily about this confrontation that AB had with Mike Mayock. So my question for you is, let's change the roles a little bit and say, what if Mike Mayock happened to be an African-American and it was a white player that came up to him and said all this, cussing him out, saying derogatory terms? You think that it would just be brushed under the rug just as easily?
No, I think that people would be going off because I think that when you have a player confronting somebody in a position of authority, people are sensitive to that, particularly in the National Football League. And the fact of the matter is, if you're Antonio Brown, let's keep in mind here, but don't bring up race in this particular situation. It has nothing to do with it. If it was race, I wouldn't hesitate to bring it up. But in this case, it doesn't apply. Mike Mayock is the GM for the Oakland Raiders. They gave Antonio Brown $30 million guaranteed. And all they've asked him to do is play football. The foot issue was not the Raiders. It was him in France on personal vacation time. The helmet issue was not the Raiders. It was the National Football League. The Raiders haven't given Antonio Brown any problems. All they gave him was money. And as a result, this dude has flown in the face of all that he worked for. For what? So if we want to bring up race about anything, how about bringing up race when it comes to a young brother who's one of the elite in his profession in this business, who bust his tail to get to this point in his life and his career, and is throwing it all away over nonsense. If you want to bring up race, why not that? Because I got news for you. As a black man, I'm here to tell you, I don't give a damn what anybody says about Mike Mayock. He's not wrong here. He's not wrong. He's the GM. You have your money guaranteed. All he did was fine you for missed team activities, which you know contractually he has a right to do. I don't want to hear nothing about race. Not here. There's plenty of times to get into issues of race. I'd be the first to do it. This ain't it. I ain't gonna waste the race argument on Antonio Brown over this one. Hell no. Cowboys, y'all will luck up. Y'all win this weekend. I wish I could say the same about my Steelers. Looking forward to seeing Cleveland as well. I'll holler at y'all Monday. Until then, peace and love, everybody.